Hello everyone, it's Mr. Dark here. One day in Mexico, an Australian surfer and lacrosse player took a piece of advice from his friend to travel to the secluded beach of the Mexican border. He had no clue that this suggestion would cost him the lives of his brother and his friend Life. It all began with an innocent suggestion to travel 100 miles to a beach that is not much known. By anyone you will find pristine beaches, only known by locals. This beach was somewhat dangerous, but they thought what worse would happen on the beach. But the situation escalated far beyond their expectations, but what, how, and when everything happened. Baja California is one of Mexico's northernmost states and serves as an extension of California's extensive coastline. Interestingly, it boasts beaches that might even surpass those in California. Nestled between the northern Pacific Ocean on the west and the Gulf of California on the east, water plays a crucial role in its economy. Baja is renowned for its significant fishing industry, one of Mexico's busiest ports, and its booming tourism sector, largely driven by visitors from California. Border towns like Tijuana, famous for its nightlife and shopping, and Rosarito, known for its expansive sandy beaches, attract many tourists. With a population of 3.8 million, Baja is home to many proud Mexicans accustomed to the influx of American and other international tourists who come to enjoy its stunning coastal views. Despite its beauty, Baja faces serious challenges. Like many northern Mexican states, it struggles with drug-related violence and crime. The British government's travel advisory highlights these dangers, recommending against all but essential travel to Tijuana, as well as to Chihuahua, Sinaloa, Tamaulipas, and Zacatecas. Gang-related violence and clashes over trafficking routes into the U.S. are common, with deadly confrontations occurring without warning. Besides the drug-related issues, tourists can also fall victim to robberies and other crimes. These risks make some travelers wary, and stories of such incidents reinforce the fears many have about visiting the region. On April 27, 2024, 3 men mysteriously disappeared just south of the American-Mexican border. 2 of them, brothers from Perth, Australia, were on a camping and surfing trip in northern Mexico, joined by an American friend. The Australian brothers, Jake and Callum Robinson, along with their American friend Jack Carter, were supposed to arrive at their Airbnb in Rosarito, but never showed up. These 3 men were extraordinary individuals, and their sudden silence left a profound void for everyone who knew them. It was highly unusual for all of them to vanish so abruptly. They had been documenting their holiday along the Mexican coastline on Instagram, but then they just disappeared. Over the following days, several clues would emerge, painting a terrifying picture and sparking outrage in Mexico, America, and Australia. Unfortunately, this story tragically ends in murder. Before delving into the details of what happened, it's important to understand who these men were. Callum Robinson, one of the Australians, was a large man with a huge heart, known as Big Koala, or Australian Thor. Standing at 6'3" and weighing 250 pounds, he was almost 33 years old. Callum was a professional lacrosse player, feared on the field for his size, but also known for his kindness, thoughtfulness, and sensitivity. He was incredibly smart, completing his chemistry degree in 3 years instead of 4. Callum moved from Perth to Maryland to study at Stevenson University, where he played for the Mustangs before competing in the Australian Championships and playing for the Chesapeake Bayhawks. He loved the water and spent many weekends surfing or relaxing on the beach. His Instagram motto was, "If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room." Callum's brother, Jake Robinson, was a few years younger and still living in Australia. He traveled to the United States earlier this year to spend time with Callum before starting his career as a doctor in an Australian hospital. Jake studied at Notre Dame University in France and took adventurous trips to places like Nepal, where he worked on global health projects with Nepalese students. As described by his mother in an interview, Jake Robinson was a happy, gentle, and compassionate soul pursuing a career in medicine. Through many pictures, it's clear that he loved surfing just as much as his brother. He also loved Fruit Loops, which, by the way, is hands down one of the best cereals known to humankind. After graduating, Jake worked at several regional hospitals across Australia and was a well-respected and liked employee at South Metropolitan Health Service. Moving on to our third person, Callum and Jake were friends with a man named Jack Carter Rode, better known as Carter. Born in Atlanta and raised in San Diego, Carter graduated from North High in Georgia and then attended Florida Southern College, where he earned a degree in business management. He later transferred to Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego, where he also played soccer and was one of the team's best captains. After college, Carter moved to Guatemala to play soccer professionally, and upon returning to the United States, he settled in San Diego. There he spent the next decade establishing a successful career in recruiting. Carter also volunteered regularly with Young Life and as a volunteer coach for the PLNU men's soccer team. Carter loved playing football and was quite the player, named Defensive Player of the Year, allowing only 1.2 goals per game as a junior and senior. He loved traveling around America, was a big fan of nature, and was known for his humor. Additionally, he enjoyed snowboarding, bowling, wakeboarding, and surfing. Carter was a religious man who loved Chick-fil-A and had a promising and healthy life ahead of him. Jake, Callum, and Carter were extraordinarily special people, and their parents should be very proud of the men they raised. By April 2024, Callum had set his sights on his 33rd birthday, which was why his younger brother Jake joined him in America. As a surfer, Callum wanted to find the perfect place to surf with his brother and friend, and he was not afraid to cross the Mexican border to find it. On a random afternoon in April 2024, Callum had a fateful encounter. He bumped into an unfamiliar face at a photography booth near Ocean Beach. The man, named Randy, was a proud photographer who loved surfing and getting to know local people. After recognizing a good chemistry between them, Callum invited Randy over to his home to drop off the pictures and have a couple of beers. During their conversation, Callum mentioned his plans to do something spectacular for his birthday. With his brother in town, he wanted to do something special, so he asked Randy for any well-known surf spots. Randy knew exactly where to go. It's no secret that popular tourist destinations can be crowded, expensive, and exploitative. For example, venturing a few streets away from the main path can lead to authentic and delicious local foods, but it's important to ensure the place you're going is safe. Randy's advice, however, did not perfectly reflect this. As a child, teenager, and adult, Randy had spent many weekends at a secluded beach named La Concha with his grandfather. This beach, located in Baja, is a long stretch of coastline unspoiled by locals and tourists alike. Even better, it's a great place to surf and camp, found just south of Tijuana and Ensenada, and is a short drive from the border. To reach La Concha, you must travel down Highway 1 and then exit at Agua Alajusco, where you head west through the valley. 17 miles later, you will arrive at Bahia de Santo Tomas. Randy had visited this place over 50 times, often camping there with friends, family, and even alone, without any trouble. After their meeting, Callum thanked Randy for his advice and invited him to join the trip. Randy was eager to join, but had to cancel due to a scheduling conflict. Understanding as they were, Callum, Jake, and Carter had no problem with Randy backing out. Confident in their abilities, Randy drew them a map, highlighting the dirt road they needed to take off Highway 1 to reach their destination. On April 26, 2024, the two Australians and their American friend crossed the border into Mexico, searching for sun, sand, and surf. They began their holiday on the first beach, arriving in a gray Lexus and a white Chevrolet. The next day, April 27th, they were at Rosarito Beach in Baja. By April 27th, they found themselves in Ensenada, as seen in a photo of them relaxing with a beer on an overcast afternoon. Carter was also seen goofing around with an old tape player alongside his Australian friends. Later that day, the weather cleared, and all three relaxed in a hot tub. They then traveled west of Ensenada to a well-known beach named Playa San Miguel, where they sat around, drank coffee, and conversed. Callum posted one final Instagram photo, poetically sharing flowers in front of crashing waves. Their social media activity abruptly stopped after that post. None of the men responded to texts or calls, causing concern among their loved ones. With Callum's type 1 diabetes, there was an added urgency, as he needed to regulate his insulin levels constantly. When they failed to check into their Airbnb in Rosarito, the owners noticed something was wrong. On May 1st, 2 days after their disappearance, Callum and Jake's mother reached out to the public on Facebook, pleading for help. The news quickly spread across social media and Mexican WhatsApp groups, filled with speculation. Media outlets reported that a woman had been arrested in connection with the disappearance of the two Australian brothers. Mexican police deployed drones and intensified their efforts to find Callum and Jake Robinson, who had not been heard from for 5 days. What began as a surfing trip along the coast of Mexico had turned into a desperate search. Perth brothers, Callum and Jake Robinson, were traveling in the Baja California region with their American friend, Jack Carter Road, in a Chevy Colorado Ute. They were headed for the lighthouse at Punta San Jose, but had not been seen or contacted their family since Saturday. They also missed their check-in at an Airbnb in Rosarito on Sunday, causing significant concern for their families. Local media reported that a search was underway. Officers discovered that the group had planned to head to La Concha, and upon arriving at their last known campsite, it was evident something had gone terribly wrong. Bloodstains and drag marks suggested an attack had occurred. Burnt tents matching the descriptions of Callum's and Carter's were found, but the pickup truck was missing. Eventually, the truck was found 4 miles away in a remote area north of Bahia de Santo Tomas, burned and abandoned. In an effort to calm international concern, Mexican authorities conducted an extensive search. Tragically, a few miles away at a hard-to-reach site, they found a 4-meter deep well containing the bodies of Callum, Jake, and Carter. All 3 men had been shot in the head. Friends and family were devastated. Callum's and Jake's parents mourned both sons. Our hearts are broken, and the world has become a darker place for us, they shared. They also mourned the loss of Carter Road, a close friend who had been enjoying his passion for surfing with them. We are overwhelmed with the outpouring of emotions and support. Now it's time to bring them home to family, friends, and the ocean waves in Australia. Please live bigger, shine brighter, and love harder in their memory. Later that week, surfers honored the murdered men by forming a circle on their boards in the ocean and throwing flowers into the water. Surprisingly, officers found a 4th body beneath the 3 men. This body was not connected to their story and had been there longer, indicating that the well was a premeditated dumping site. 3 suspects were arrested: Jesus Gerardo, his brother Christian Alejandro, and Gerardo's 23-year-old girlfriend, Ari Gasal. Jesus Gerardo, also known as Alas, a slang term for cadres or cheese thief, had a long criminal record, including drug dealing, domestic violence, and vehicle theft. Authorities believe the perpetrators targeted Callum's Chevy Colorado for its expensive tires. When Callum, Jake, and Carter resisted the robbery, the situation escalated to violence. Ari Gasal was stopped by police on a routine patrol in Ensenada on May 1st, 2024. She allegedly threw a bag containing 100 grams of methamphetamine on the ground before trying to flee. It was reported that Ari came to the attention of the authorities after she turned on Carter's iPhone, which then pinged a local mobile phone tower. A Baja investigator stated they had contacted U.S. authorities in San Diego to obtain the victim's phone number, and they monitored it until one of the phones was activated, which led them to Ari. In court, Ari testified that Gerardo admitted to killing all 3 men after returning home from the campsite where they were last seen alive on April 27th. He told her, "I killed 3 gringos." He then showed her his vehicle, which now had the tires stolen from the Chevrolet. With this evidence, it appears Gerardo is in serious trouble. The Attorney General's office is now tasked with proving that Ari possessed methamphetamine with the intent to sell it. Meanwhile, Gerardo will remain in custody until his next hearing in November 2024. The presence of an unconnected 4th body in the well has led many to speculate about the possible involvement of Mexico's notorious cartels. Investigators claim that the crime bears the hallmarks of organized crime and that petty crimes like stealing tires don't typically escalate to such violent ends. Baja California has been plagued by cartel violence in recent months and years, making it challenging for authorities to regain control. In 2015, 2 Australian surfers named Adam Coleman and Dean Lucas were murdered in western Sinaloa, just across the Gulf of California from the Baja Peninsula. Unfortunately, such crimes are not uncommon in this region. The fate of Ari, Christian, and Gerardo is still uncertain, but with their arrests and the evidence against them, their prospects look grim. The Mexican judicial system is known for its swift and severe handling of such cases. Both men are likely to be found guilty, given the confidence authorities have in the evidence. As a lot of us know, disappearances and murders are not uncommon in this part of the world, where drug cartels wield terrifying power and show little regard for human life. In their haste to close this case, Mexican authorities have left many questions unanswered, which will hopefully be resolved during the legal proceedings. The area's proximity to the American border makes it a target for both official and black market economies, attracting foreign tourists as well as significant drug and human traffickers. According to the U.S. State Department, Baja California falls under the 2nd highest severity level, urging travelers to reconsider visiting due to crime and kidnapping, which are prevalent in the area. To provide a clearer picture, the Mexican government estimates that more than 110,000 people have disappeared since records began in 1962. However, local groups insist that this number is actually far higher. As Mexico strives for economic development, it faces the difficult task of quashing crime in an industry that, unfortunately, brings significant money into the local economy. This creates a complex and controversial balance, with tens of thousands of lives lost in the process, not only through addiction, but also through murder. Remembering Callum Jake and Carter Callum's girlfriend, Emily Howey, said, "My heart is shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. You are one of one. I will love you forever." Her Instagram tribute highlights how phenomenally cheery, upbeat, and happy Callum was. Not just around her, but with everyone he met. Jake, the younger brother, often takes a quieter role in this tragic story, but he too had an equally impressive heart and personality. An avid traveler and aspiring doctor, he planned to take a position at a hospital in Geelong, southwest of Melbourne. As a man who wanted to heal, support, and save lives, it is beyond tragic that he lost his own at the hands of evil, greedy men. Carter was a family man who devoted his time to regularly visiting his parents. He had recently become engaged to his partner, Natalie, and had grand plans for his future. It's a tragedy that he, too, was forced to leave so much goodness behind. I hope that the families of these men find comfort and closure on their long road to recovery. This story is a stark reminder of the dangers that exist in some parts of the world, and the preciousness of every life lost to such senseless violence.